Okay, so one of the very first things we want to do is to put a router bit into our spindle. So first thing is find a collet that's the appropriate size for your router bit. This happens to be a 1/2 inch tool, and that's a 1/2 inch collet. First thing I do is I inspect both to make sure that there's no obvious cracks or marks or dents or dings in them. And next most important thing, and this is a very important step, is to carefully clean. Don't blow air up into the spindle. Instead use a paper towel. We want to get it as clean as we possibly can get it. Remember that this spindle is running at top speed, 400 revolutions per second. So it's important that I get these things perfectly clean. Every time I change a tool, you have to take the assembly apart and clean the two pieces separately. Now, there's a lip on the collet, and there's also a matching lip inside the collet nut here. This collet has to lock into that lip. When it's properly mounted, the face of the collet and the face of the nut will be essentially flush. Not like this, like that. Okay, I can't put the tool into the collet and then try to fit it into the collet nut because it won't collapse. I have to be able to flex the collet nut and get it to snap into that, flex the collet and get it to snap into the collet nut. Then I can put my tool in. Okay, the question is exactly how far do I put the router bit into the collet? Because of leverage, we'd like to have the router bit as close into the spindle as possible. So I'll typically put the tool right to the top of the flute there. When I insert it into the collet, I'll go right to that point, and that'll give me the full depth of cut on the tool and the maximum amount of tool into the collet. That's the proper place to put it. Then I'll put that into the spindle and tighten it up. It's a normal thread on the spindle, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You want to get it tight, but you don't have to get it 250 foot-pounds. About that tight. Notice that there's a flat on the spindle. One wrench goes on the flat on the spindle there, and the other one obviously on the nut. It's important that whenever you change the tool, that you take this whole thing apart and clean it and get it as clean as you can. This spindle runs at 400 revolutions per second, 24,000 RPM. So a little bit of dirt in there will hold something off center, and spinning at 400 revs a second creates vibration. The first thing that will do is it'll create a bad finish on your part. But the second that it does is it stresses the spindle and the whole system. So cleaner is better.